Alright, so just like what I was saying, a composite figure is a figure made up of two or more shapes. So like a triangle and a square put together, that would be a composite figure. Okay. This table right here is just a little refresher of all the formulas that you might need. Remember, if you prefer to use base times height divided by 2, or height times base 1 plus base 2 divided by 2, that's fine. They're the same formulas. Okay. But here's just a little chart with all those formulas you might need. What about the area of a semicircle? Do you remember what that is? What's that formula? 1/2 of pi r squared. And then we should all know our formula for a rectangle or a square. What is that? Base times height or length times width. Either one. Okay. So if you need to write those down, you can. Alright, so these are just examples of composite figures. You've got a parallelogram and a rectangle put together. You've got a semicircle. It's kind of cut right here. It's kind of hard to see. Semicircle and a square. And then this one is cut right here. You've got a triangle and a trapezoid. So you would just find the area of both figures and add them together to get the total area. Okay. So example 1 does a problem for us. If you cut this in half, it's kind of hard to see all of that, but this would be a semicircle. This would be a triangle, so you want to separate them and find the area of each. What is the 6 meters telling me about that circle? It's the what? It's the diameter. How do you know that it's the diameter and not the radius? Because it's in the center of the circle. It's right there by the center. If it was written down here, like right here, that would tell you that it's the radius. Okay, so this is your diameter. But in your formula for semicircle, it's 1/2 pi r squared. So you've got to divide that d by 2. So your r is 3. Okay, so don't forget to do that. You can't plug in d for r. So area of the semicircle is 14.1. And then our triangle is 1/2 base times height. So your base is 11, height is 6. So your area is 33. So to find the area of the whole entire composite figure, you're adding them together, and it's 47.1 square meters. Okay. Not too bad. It's just a lot of work. All right, looking at this figure, what two shapes are put together to make that? Yeah, a trapezoid and a square. If I cut it down right here, that leaves me with a trapezoid and a square. So I'm going to say that my square is my first figure. My trapezoid is going to be my second one. So I'm just going to say A1, so I know which work goes with which.
Wouldn't it be a rectangle and a trapezoid if you cut it this way?
If you cut it this way. Yes. Yeah, you could do that. I think you have enough information to tell. Because your height would be 20 minus 13 to 7. Yeah, you could do it like that. So again, I'm going to say A1. So A1 is going to be my work for the square, which is just base times height or length times width. So what are those two numbers for my square? 20 and 20, right? It is not 25 because this 25 is talking about the whole long side of the bottom. Your square is the 20 and the 20. So what is that final area? 400 square inches, right? But remember, that is just of the square. So now I need to go back and I need to find the area of my trapezoid. So my formula okay. Tell me how you got 5 for H.
The bottom one is 25 and then the top one is 20, so you just minus 20.
Yeah. If you know that this whole piece right here is 25 inches, then if you look up here, if this is a square, then that means from here to here is 20 inches. So this little piece right there is going to be 25 minus 20, which is 5. Okay. So everybody see how we got that? So the height of your trapezoid is that little piece right there, which is 5. So you've got 1/2 times 5. And then what are your two bases of the trapezoid? 13 and 20. If this is 20, then you know that this is also 20. So then you have 1/2 times 5 times 33, which is all what? What is it? 82.5? Is that right? Remember that when you're looking at trapezoids, the two bases, the two bases are the set of lines that are parallel to each other. So don't get confused and try to say that your height is 13. Always look to find your bases first, because those two numbers that are your bases should be the parallel lines. So you know for a fact that those would not be your height. Okay. All right, so total area of the whole entire composite figure, what are you going to do with those to find it? You're just going to add them together. So 400 plus 82.5 equals 482.5 square inches. And that is your total area. Any questions on that? So you definitely should have lots of work for your homework tonight. Alright, flipping over. We are going to skip example 2 because the copier did not do it correctly. We're supposed to have measures inside here and you cannot see them. So we're just going to skip that one. It says that Pedro's father is building a shed. How many square feet of wood are needed to build the back of the shed shown at the right? So what two shapes do I have? Yep, you got technically a rectangle and then a triangle, right? So you want to find the area of both of those and then just add them together. So first, my rectangle, what is the base and the height of that rectangle? 15 and 12. So 15 times 12 is what? 180, thank you. So 180 square feet for the rectangle of the shed. And then I need to find the area of the triangle. So that formula would be 1/2 base times height, or base times height divided by 2. So what is going to be your base of that triangle? 15. If this is 15 down here, you know that that's 15 as well. And then what is that height? Good. 4. So then when you multiply all that together, what do you get? 30. So your total area of the whole shed, or the side, the back of the shed, is 180 plus 30, which is good, 210 square feet. Not too bad, right? All right, example 3. We want to find the area of the shaded region. Just like Caleb said on that first problem that we did, he found another way to do it. There's going to be multiple ways that you could cut them up and figure it out, most likely. The easiest way, I think, is the way that they did it. You can think of, you know that the whole entire rectangle here is 5 by 12. So you could find that area. And then they also tell you that each little side of those little triangles that are cut off are 1 and 1. So you could find the area of one triangle and then multiply them by 4, right? So you would have the area of the whole big rectangle and then the area of all 4 little cutout triangles. And what could you do to find the area of all this shaded? You would want to subtract them. So that's exactly what they did here. You've got your area of your triangle, and then, area of your rectangle, and then all 4 of the area of the triangles together were 2. So you could just subtract them, and the area that's shaded is 58. You could also, you could cut this into a trapezoid here, and a trapezoid here, and then one big rectangle in the middle, right? But that would require a lot more work. So you could do either way, but this is the shorter, simpler way. But you're not always going to be adding them together. You got to read the problem and figure out what is it asking. So in this case, we were actually subtracting. And in the next problem, you're going to be subtracting as well, because you're trying to find the area of all of this shaded pool. So you could find the area of the large rectangle, which would be 42 times 25. And then you could find the area of this, the one that's not shaded, which would be 20 times 22. And if you're trying to find all of this that's shaded, you would want to subtract that, the white one that's not shaded out of the large shaded one. Kind of like those 3 problems we did on the back of our area packet when you subtracted them. Okay. So in this case, you would want to subtract as well. Any questions on that? So you just got to read the problem and figure out what it's asking to figure out if you're actually adding or subtracting. Okay. All right. We want to find the area of the shaded picnic areas. So in this case, I want to find all of this. So what 2 shapes would those be? Triangle and a rectangle. So area of the triangle would be 1/2 base times height. What is the base of that triangle? How did you find 30?
Because the whole bottom of the figure is 150.
Okay.
The top of the figure is 120.
Yeah.
You subtract it.
Good. If you want to find just this base of the triangle, you know the whole side, or the whole bottom is 150. The top up here is 120, so you would just want to subtract them. So 150 minus 120 equals 30. Does everybody see how we got that? So your base is 30, and your height is what?
50.
50. If this is 50, that means the other side of that rectangle is also 50. We're good? So what does that give me? 750 square yards. And then you want to find the area of your rectangle. So what is the base and height of that?
60.
60 and 25. So 60 times 25 gives you what? 1,500. So then again, we're finding the area of the shaded region. So what are we going to do to find that? You're going to add these 2 together. So your total is going to be 750 plus 1,500, which is what? 2,250? Is that what you said? 2,250 square yards is your final answer. Any questions on that one? So you can use, or you're going to have to use all the other pieces of information that they give you. You might have to find some others based off of what they give you. Okay. All right. We'll do guided practice number 1, and then I think we should be good. Right? Are we good? What two shapes do I have in guided practice number 1? Semicircle and a rectangle. So I'm going to say my semicircle is 1, rectangle is 2. So what's that formula again for a semicircle? Pi r squared divided by 2 or 1/2 pi r squared. Either one will work. So did they give me my radius or my diameter? They gave me the diameter. So how do I find the radius, since that's what I need for my formula? You're going to take your d and divide it by 2. So what does that give you? 0.75. And that's what you are squaring. You have to remember to find that radius if you're finding the area. So what does that area give me? Yeah, the whole thing. I don't know why y'all keep telling me that. Every other class has told me that too. But it should be 0.88. That's what I got. I think it's somehow that y'all, because you're not the only person. Every other class has told me that answer too. 0.88? Yeah, that's what it should be. You might not be squaring your 0.75 correctly. I don't know what you're doing. Alright, so that is 0.88 square feet. So then area of my rectangle, what is that going to be? 1.5 times 2. What's 15 times 2? 30. So move the decimal. Should be 3. Okay. So total would be 0.88 plus 3, which would just be 3.88, right? But what did it say in the directions? Round to the nearest tenth. So I need to round it. So what would that be? 3.9. So 3.9 square feet. Yep, square feet. That's final. Any questions? We good? Okay. You are doing the rest of this for your homework. You can just do 1 through 9. And if you still have time in class, you can finish the rest. But for sure, you need to do 1 through 9.